Hello friends, this is our third part to our 3-part series targeting hamstring mobility. We're just going to use our trusty blocks and our trusty strap as our props, and let's get into this restorative practice. So we're going to begin in supported fish pose. So one block underneath the heart, which means the shoulder blades. One block maybe as a pillow for underneath the head. Okay. Have your strap nearby so you can grab it once we're going to be spending a bit of time on our backs. That's the beauty of restorative yoga. And then again, this block that's going to be under your heart is going to be right about here. So it's not way up at the tops of the shoulders and it's not in the low back. It's right at where, if you're wearing a sports bra, right in kind of the center of that. And what that will allow is for you to melt your chest down, your shoulders will melt down towards the mat. You can use a block behind the head or not, whatever you prefer. I like my feet bent here, but if that's not comfortable for you, then of course you can straighten them out or take butterfly if that works for you. Doing butterfly with caution if you have SI joint issues. Hands anywhere that's comfortable. And then we're just going to breathe here for a couple minutes. This is going to help release some of the restriction in the thoracic spine. Help us get into our bodies. A lot of times we forget that stress and anxiety can manifest in the body as tightness and stiffness. And so that a key part of being able to stretch, a key part of being able to explore mobility is being relaxed. So let's take 3 cleansing breaths together. Draw a deep inhale in through the nose. Brief pause at the top. Exhale out through the mouth. Another inhale. Pause. Exhale. Last one, inhale. Pause. Exhale. Come back to your breath in and out through your nose. Take this opportunity to perhaps set an intention for this practice. Once you've set your intention, let's take a deep breath in together. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Keeping your body where it is, just reach your arms up and overhead nice and slow. Adding a little bit more intensity. Reach through your fingers. Soften your heart. Good. Bring yourself up into your forearms and then up into your hands. Move your block aside. Come onto your back. Bend your knees into your chest. Round the spine. Rock side to side. Really good way to get into that low back is to work on rounding it, rolling it, massaging it. Good, and then set the sole of the left foot down. Grab your strap. If you don't have a strap, no worries. You can also just interlace your hand behind your leg. That is my preference and my body, honestly. But if you have a strap, go ahead and lasso the big toe mound of the foot. Excuse me. Get a comfortable grip in just the right hand. Let everything else be relaxed. Good. From here, I want you to bend your knee into your chest. So you're bending your thigh towards your belly. Keep this left foot bent. Flex your right foot, and then keeping your thigh kind of in the direction that it's pointing, I want you to just push up through your heel. So maybe your leg won't straighten at all. Maybe it straightens just a touch. And then rebend. Good. Push up through the heel and rebend. Push up and bend. Push up and bend. Good. Last one, push up and bend. Good. Now bring yourself back to just a neutral straight leg. So that was just a little bit of an active awakening of the hamstring. And let's just take a few breaths here. Letting the elbows and the shoulders be heavy. Just gradually letting the weight of gravity open through the back of your leg. Maybe movement starts to call to you, a little sway of the leg side to side. Maybe a little bit forward and back, releasing the stretch and then intensifying, releasing and intensifying. If it feels okay for you, you're welcome to straighten out that left leg at this point. But for many of us, when we straighten that left leg, we're going to lose a lot of range in that right leg, or at least some range. So choosing whatever's most comfortable for your back. Good, and from here, I want you to start to straighten that left leg out. Switch the hands, so bringing your left hand around the strap and bringing the leg across the body to just about a 45 degree, maybe a little bit lower. So it's not a full twist. It's just enough twist to where you feel that stretch through the IT band, so through the side of the leg. If you feel enough sensation, stay as you are, or give a little tug on the strap with your hand, drawing the foot back in space. That will intensify more of that sensation in the side of the hip. Good. Bring your leg back up through center. Open your leg to the right. I clearly do not have enough space to do so, so I'm just going to hold here. Open your leg to the right. Getting that stretch of the inner thigh. Good. Even here, keep that left leg grounded, maybe left hand to left hip to remind it to stay down. The goal is not to bring that right foot all the way down to the mat. That completely just depends for most people on just how your hip joint is constructed. So try not to let that left hip lift in favor of bringing that right leg lower. And maybe give a subtle tug on the strap, drawing the toes back. See if that intensifies a bit. Good. On your inhale, come back up through center. Bend your knee. Remove your strap. Good. From here, grab the inside of your right heel for a half happy baby pose. Little rock side to side, kind of like you're stirring up that right hip. And then kind of like what we did at the very beginning, find a neutral position. Push your heel in towards your hand, towards straightening the leg, and then release and bend. Push towards straight and bend. Good, a few more just like this. So our bodies are not really warm. We're just getting started here. We're not doing any standing flow today. So this is all a matter of gradual release and working our way up to building a little bit more intensity into the muscles. Good. Bend the leg. Set the sole of the right foot down. And let's switch sides. Bring the right leg in. Grab your strap. If you don't have a strap, again, hands behind the thighs is totally good. Some people just, the strap can just be a little bit more tactile and they just prefer. Grip just in one hand if you have the strap, so let that entire right side just feel easy and soft. And then bring your thigh towards your belly. Thigh towards belly. Flex the foot. And just like we did before, and I'm giving a little bit of resistance with the strap, I'm going to push the heel straight up and bend. Straight up and bend. So you can see my thigh is not changing position. I'm not pushing my leg forward and up. Forward and up. I'm instead keeping my thigh bone fixed and just straightening the knee. Bending the knee, straightening the knee, bending the knee. Okay, let's do 3 more. Straighten and bend, straighten and bend. 1 more, straighten and bend. Good. From here, just go ahead and straighten out the leg completely until you feel that stretch through the back of the hamstring, back of the leg. Remembering that during this entire practice, we really want our attention to be in the belly of the hamstring. So if you were to bring your hand behind your leg, you'd feel it. It's the more bulgy belly part of the muscle. And feeling a little bit less around the knee and a lot less at the pelvis. We want to stretch the heftiest part of the muscle. We don't want to stretch where it connects, as those connective points tend to be a lot more delicate. And now again, if movement calls to you, you're welcome to bring some movement, side to side, forward and back, circle around, point, flex the foot, whatever calls to you. Just easing in, nice and slow. It's a really cold pool, and we're easing in nice and slow. And then if you haven't straightened out that right leg yet, go ahead and straighten it. And if your hamstring needs to be pulled forward a bit, that's okay. And then which way did we go first? Cross the leg over the body towards the left. Switch the hands. And you can bring that left arm to a T or not. Doesn't really matter because we're not going into a full twist. We're just feeling the stretch through the side of the thigh. And I don't get a ton of sensation there, so what I like to do is flex the foot and pull back with the strap, and then hello, nurse. I start to feel it. Ooh, boy. Okay, couple breaths here. I also like to give myself a little bit of a self-adjustment of taking my left hand into my left hip crease and kind of pushing my left hip forward. Good. Rise back up through center. Switch hands. And then open that foot towards the left. Again, the goal is not to bring it down towards the ground or to the ground. The goal is, oh man, this is a great view. The goal is to just let it lengthen the inner thighs, the AD adductor muscles, and keep that right hip as glued down as you can. It's just to offset the weight of the leg, it's going to lift a little bit, but just try not to tilt to your side. And then a little tug of that strap, bring the toes back and space a little bit more. She's just out of view, but my other dog, Minnie, is right here in her bed. Totally zonked. She might start snoring soon. Inhale, come back up through center. Bend the knee, set your strap aside. Find your half happy baby, so hands to the inside of your heel, please, rather than the outside of the foot. Drawing the knee down towards the mat. And as you can see, my right leg, boom, bends. That's okay. Good. And then from here, I want you to think about pushing your heel in towards your hand, but keeping your thigh bone fixed. So just straightening and bending. And straightening, I just mean moving towards straight. It doesn't mean I would expect your leg to be straight here. My leg is not straight here. Just moving towards straight and bending. Moving towards straight and bending. Good. Continue just like this. Just feel, just explore, just observe. Notice what areas feel tenser than others. For me, on my left side, my inner knee gets a lot of sensation here from previous injuries. Good. Moving back towards half happy baby. Draw your left leg in, and then your right. Give yourself a hug and a rock from side to side. Let the spine round. Good. From here, bring your feet down, cactus or T. Shift your hip to the left, off center, and then draw the knees into your chest. Keep your knees tightly pulled into the chest and roll onto your left hip. If your legs don't touch all the way down, if they get a little bit stuck, bring a block underneath your knees to help support them there. So look at the screen if you're not already. Instead of having your knees way down here in line with the hips or further back, I want your knees pretty deeply pulled in. They don't have to be right up against your chest, but keep your knees pulled in, as that's going to really help move the twist towards the lumbar spine. Good. Option here to maybe straighten that right leg if that feels okay. Again, I like this because I get some good sensation through the IT band, a little bit through the hip. I also start to feel it through the TL fascia. I feel the back of the pelvic bowl starting to stretch. Good. From here, I'm going to rebend the knee, come back up to center, and switch sides. Hips over to the left, knees drop to the right. I have a microphone pack on this side, so my knees aren't going to drop. I'm just going to wait here. Good. Take a few breaths. Again, you're welcome to... Sorry, just trying to wake my computer back up using my toes. You're welcome to straighten that top leg. Oh, here's Minnie. Good. Inhale, come back up through center. Bring your hands behind your thighs. Give yourself a hug, a little rock from left to right. And I know it doesn't work for everybody. If rolling up the spine does not feel good, don't do it. Just roll over to one side. I love to rock up and down the spine. It feels so good for me. So if it does for you, take a couple rocks and then find a seat. All right, let's start to get into the side body. This is one of my favorite postures to do. I'm going to grab a block and I'm going to come into a gentle V-sit. And by gentle V-sit, I mean barely a V-sit, just enough to where sometimes for some people sitting with their feet together and Dandasana can be a little bit more like they're rounding in the low back, and widening can give them a little bit more space to sit up. It also, if sitting with legs straight does not work for you, a couple of things you can do. Grab pillows, grab blankets, and bend the knees so that you can sit up nice and tall and your knees will be supported, or Sukhasana, totally fine as well. I like to do this pose from a V-sit, a nice comfortable one. As you can see, I move the flesh out from underneath my sits bones, which is just a more attractive way of saying moving your glutes or your butt meat out of the way. And then sitting up tall, this is really important as we want to enunciate an arch of the low back. Not a huge arch, not like booty popping arch, but a natural slope of the low back, because what inhibits a lot of movement in the hamstrings is when our spine is stuck round. So again, adjust your seat, sit on a pillow, sit on a block if you need, but one block is going to be next to your right hip. You can also bring one foot in if this is more comfortable. The stance of the legs it doesn't really matter. What matters is the low back and the length. And then from here, I want you to, super simple, bring your right elbow to the block, rest your head in your hand, and then adjust. Now we're going to be here just a little bit, so you might not feel it right away. I'm going to lower my block, turn my hand into a fist, and just rest here. If your left hip lifts, that's fine. Let it lift, doesn't matter. And this is just a really passive side bend stretch. I'm going to be here just about a minute. And you might not feel a lot of sensation right out off the bat, but after being here for a minute, you should definitely start to feel it. Those of you who want to bring a little bit more awareness to this, I want you to think about sending your left hip down. It doesn't have to be touching, but just think about that side being heavy. Think about someone pressing their hand into your left ribs, and you're pressing back. You're pressing into their hands with your left ribs. You can also, of course, adjust that block, move it a little bit further away. You can heighten it, lower it. We're just starting off small, working our way up. That's the thing with fascia. Take some time. It's not like a muscle. You really want to breathe into it. Let it gradually get a little bit more elastic. One more breath. Good. Bring your left hand to your left hip. Use your right hand to help you press and rise up nice and slow. So again, for you this might feel really intense. For you it might not feel very intense at all. No right or wrong. Just noticing how it feels, switching sides. I like having one foot pulled in, so I'm going to do that again. I think it is more intense in my body when I do it this way. But this is my second thing I'm filming today, so I'm going to do one foot in and set up the same way. We're going to stay here for just about a minute. Again, if you need a little bit more, make it more active. Press your right ribs towards the right. Adjust your block. Straighten both legs. Whatever. We're going to take about 4 more breaths here. See if you can relax your right hip flexor. Good. One more breath in and out. Good. Bring your right hand to your hip. Rise up to your left forearm, then to your left hand. Use that to help you press up nice and slow. Good. We're going to do kind of the same thing, but now taking it up a little bit of a notch. Switch legs. So come into Janusarasana if you're not already. Right heel in towards the pelvis, left leg at about a 45-degree. I want you to bring your left elbow towards either your left inner thigh. If that folding forward doesn't feel good in your back, I want you to bring your elbow back down to a block instead. So rather than moving forward and twisting, especially if you have disc issues, I want you to think about twisting in one line rather than if you're a little bit stuck. So for me, it's okay for me to go forward and twist because I can find a lot of length in my low back. I'm pretty mobile in my hamstrings. But if that's not the case for you, that's totally okay. Just bring your elbow to the side instead of on the inner thigh for now, okay? And then if your hand is on the block, if your elbow is on the block, I want you to think about pressing down into that block and using that force of pressing down to twist your heart up, 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 up. And then reach that right arm up and overhead. So we're adding on a bit more. My right glute is still grounded. And again, I'm using that block. I'm pressing down and twisting up. And then reaching with those fingertips. So a slightly more intense version of what we just did. What we just did for me tends to get more into the intercostals, the ribs, the psoas even. This, for me, I feel a lot more through the TL fascia because my lat is being stretched, because I'm pulling my shoulder blade up, which is lengthening my lat. Good. On your next breath in, bring your hand to your hip. And very, very nice and slow, come back up. Some people get like a head rush for back bends. I get that with side bends. Other side. Block to the right hip. Switching out your feet. Even on both sits bones. Again, if you're doing this practice and you're more mobile in the hamstrings, a nice wide sit, right elbow to inner thigh to help you twist, or elbow to block. Pressing down, think about spinning your heart open and then reaching that arm. I like to bring my hand like by my ear and like an airplane going by, right up and overhead. Because a lot of times this happens and we get stuck, which can be a result of restriction in the lat. I want you to think about kind of like what we did with bending and straightening our leg, kind of really push through those fingertips, really stretch with that hand. Feel that length from your lat muscle all the way down to the back of the pelvis. And then remembering to push down through that block so that you're getting kind of up and out of that right side, getting more length in the left as you spin your heart open and reach. Lots going on here. Good, one more breath. Good, bring that left hand down to your hip. And nice and slow, come back up. Good. From here, let's roll over the knees, find tabletop position. And from your tabletop, knees hip width distance, let's just move through some simple cat and cows at your own pace. Feel free to add any movement that feels good to you. Cat and cow is great for loosening up the back as you're moving between arching the spine, bringing a lot of pressure into where the sacrum connects to the lumbar spine, as well as rounding the spine, getting a good stretch through those muscles. Got a couple more rounds. Good. Find a nice neutral tabletop position. From your neutral table, I want you to bring your left hand over to the right. Reach with your paw and kind of let your hips sink over towards the right. Almost like you're trying to go to a child's pose, but you can't. Good. Come back up through center. Other side, right hand over to the left, and then let your hips kind of move towards the left, but sink your hips back a touch so that you feel that stretch from the armpit down through the back. Might feel it more on one side than the other. Come back to neutral. Step your right foot between your hands. And a nice comfortable stance here. Doesn't have to be 90-90 if that's too much on the knee. Good. Now from here, I want you to inhale, reach your left arm up, twist. Exhale, left hand threads underneath your right thigh. Good. Inhale, back up. Exhale, thread. Inhale, back up. Exhale, thread. Inhale. Exhale. Try and keep your pelvis fixed. Inhale. Exhale. Good. A few more. Just moving like this. You can see I'm kind of cactusing my arm at the top because that's what feels good for me. Helps me get a little bit more twist. Again, try and keep your pelvis relatively still. And already, I'm feeling some good sensation going on in my spine. And we're just mobilizing that thoracic spine. The more mobility our thoracic spine has, the more mobility our TL fascia will have. Good. A few more. Again, it's up to you. If cactusing feels right, I like that. Or if you want to keep the arms straight. Just mobilizing. Often we think restorative yoga is just stretching. This is restorative yoga. Restorative yoga is any movements that offset the imbalances of your body or your lifestyle. One more. Bring your left hand down. Send your right leg back. Switch sides. Left foot forward. Nice and comfortable. Don't worry about being stacked 90-90. If you need to elevate that left hand, I forgot to say on the other side, you can elevate it as well to get a little bit taller. I just tent my fingertips. And then same thing. Inhale, open up to the right. Exhale, thread the arm under the thigh. Inhale, open, and thread. Try and keep the pelvis still. You're just twisting and threading. Don't worry about how far you twist. Just focus on moving around the rib cage. Even if you're going slower, even if you're going faster. Just feeling the ribs spin and close. Open and close. Good. I learned this from Laura Hyman, who is a wonderful resource. She's a yoga teacher and a physical therapist. So she talks a lot about mobility. And this is a really great way to start to loosen up that back. Find some freedom in the spine. Let's do a few more. Good. Really make sure, as much as you're focusing on twisting, that you're also spinning down, threading the arm. Good. Let's do 2 more. 1, 2. Fingertips down, step back to plank. Good. I want you to spin your shins off to one side. Right hand comes down, straighten the left leg. And then inhale, spin your left armpit open to the sky. What is my foot on? Oh, it's on a block. Good. Now, from here, really press into everything making contact with the earth. Your hand, your knee, and your back foot. Press down through the body, arch the spine. Maybe let the head just kind of drop. Good. And just like at the beginning of our practice, think about reaching through those fingertips. So you're getting a ton of length through the side body, through the lats, through that fascia. Good. One more breath. Bring your hand down, lower your chest down. Other side, spin your shins off to one side. Straighten that right leg. Try not to eat my microphone. I wore the wrong shirt today. And then spin your heart open as you push down through the earth. Try and push away from the mat. And as much as you're pushing, as much as you're lifting, you're also arcing. So it's like the pieces of your body contacting the earth are pushing the earth away, but the areas of your body, like your hand, and thinking about the top kind of surface of your body, your head, your hand, your waist, are kind of trying to drip back down. Good. Reach with that arm. Good. One more breath in. And then slowly lower back down. Come back to a tabletop. Good. Inhale, reach your right arm up to the sky. Exhale, thread the needle, right arm under the left. Rest the right side of your face down onto the mat. Oh boy, tuck my shirt in. Coming into thread the needle pose. For thread the needle, 2 options today. Left hand stays directly in front of your face. Press down to rotate the spine. Option 2, left hand comes behind the low back to pull that shoulder back in space. And then a firm press of this right back of your hand, so the fingernail side of your hand, down into the mat to keep that side a little bit active as you press and maybe look up. Good. Let's take just 2 breaths here. Good. Left hand comes down. Inhale, spin back open to the right. Exhale, right hand down. It's kind of like combining those 2 movements that we just did together. Inhale, lift your left arm up. Exhale, same thing, thread the needle, left side of the face comes down onto the mat. Option to press into your right hand, spinning the chest open, or left hand binds maybe to draw that, right hand binds maybe to press the right shoulder back, or firmly press and press that left hand down into the mat. Good, so it's still pretty active here in both versions. 1 more breath. Right hand comes down. Inhale, press down, twist back open. Exhale, bring it down. Very, very good. Now let's start to move a little bit more into the legs. We're going to bring our right foot forward and then our left into a kind of medium stance, hip width distance forward fold. You're welcome to take a little bit wider. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go not quite mat width, but a little bit wider than hip width. You can also turn your toes just slightly outwards. And then on your inhale, I want you to pull yourself forward into a halfway lift. Maybe bring a block under your fingertips. Draw your weight forward into your toes. And then I want you to acknowledge the low back of your body. So I mentioned this in my other videos about the hamstrings, that if your low back is rounded and restricted, then you're going to be stuck. You need to think about that length in the low back, that arch in the tailbone upwards. Once you've found that arch, whether it means you need to pull yourself up onto your tippiest fingertips or to a block, whether it means that bending the knees, as you can see if you're watching the screen, bending the knees gives a lot of arch and kind of lift to the tailbone, which will give your hamstrings a lot of space. So whatever option you choose to take, in order to find that nice slope of the low back, I want you to pull your heart forward. Inhale, rock your weight forward into your toes, and then exhale, do everything you can to maintain the length of the low back, and then fold. Because folding in a way that doesn't serve us, folding in a way that isn't going to improve our folds over time, there's no point in doing it then, right? So we need to fold differently. If your hamstrings are stuck, if they're perpetually stuck, then you need to move in a way that's different, move in a way that challenges your body differently. So again, even you can see I have a block under my hands. If you're here, you're going to feel that stretch eventually, trust me. Even with the knees bent. My knees are bent, my heart is kind of lifted, and my low back is long. And trust me, I'm feeling a big stretch through the back of my hamstrings. So I would rather you fold with this placement of the body that is different, that is going to free that low back fascia and free up your hamstrings, than folding in the same way you've been folding and hasn't been working. Good. Good. On your next breath in, halfway lift. Bend the knees. Good. Just take a moment with bent knees. Good. Inhale, rise back up to your halfway lift. Find that long spine again. Weight forward into the toes. Whether you need to bend your knees or not, up to you. Take an inhale. Exhale, refold. So we just took a quick little break. Now we're going back into it. It's fine if the upper back rounds. It's the low back that I really want you to pay attention to. It's the weight slightly more forward into the toes. It's the tilt of the tailbone. Good. On your next inhale, again, soften the knees even more than they already are. Halfway lift, so you're in kind of like a squat. Take a moment, just letting the hamstrings breathe. And we're going to do this one more time. This last time, we're going to ask a little bit more muscles to work here. So find your long low back, whether that means your knees are bent or not. Pull your heart forward, inhale. Exhale, refold. And then think of the knife edges of your feet, the pinky toe side of your feet. And then try and press the knife edges of your feet towards the side of your mat. Good. So now you're bringing a little bit more muscular energy. You're incorporating your outer hips to your forward fold. Just a couple more breaths, because the hamstrings, they need some time to release, but also we don't want to kind of just go crazy on them. We need to respect them for sure, for the muscles that they are, and that they require patience and consistency to release. Good. Inhale, halfway lift, bend your knees, kind of come into a squat, let them release. So we're kind of going between weight bearing through the legs, kind of toning them up again to straightening and lengthening them. Good. Now from here, if you don't have a block, grab one. If you don't need one, that's okay. But I'm going to use one. Left hand to the center of the block. Inhale. Exhale, twist to the right. Left arm or right arm can be to the sky, or you can bring it to the low back for a half bind if that feels better for you. Good. Pull your heart forward. Think about low back long. So again, even if knees are bent, let the knees be bent. Spin the chest open. Good. One more breath in. Exhale, right hand down. Good. Inhale, left hand to left hip. Exhale, twist. Good. If it feels better to have the left arm straight, you can have it straight. For me, I really prefer the half bind. Good. Again, thinking of that low back long, correcting it on myself as well. Knees can be bent or is unbent. One more breath. Exhale, unwind. Good. Bend the knees nice and slow. Wiggle your feet together. Ooh, boy, nice and slow. I'm feeling that. So we spent a lot of time in a weight-bearing forward fold, as that is a really good way to get into those legs. Coming into a seat now. Sukhasana, crisscross, maybe on a block or a pillow. Got wires everywhere here. Take an inhale, stretch your arms up. Exhale, left hand by left hip. Bring your right hand out behind your head and grab your left ear. Good. Now lift that elbow up, right? So your elbow's not just kind of sinking. Try and push your elbow through your ceiling. Keep that arc up and over to the left. Let your head just be heavy in the hand. Good. Let's take a couple breaths here. Good. Press through your left hand. Inhale, come back up. Other side, right hand by right hip. Left hand finds right ear behind the skull. Push your elbow up. Elbow up, scapula up, shoulder blade up, and then up over to the right. Let your head be heavy in the hand. I have to kind of adjust. I like more of the back of my skull in my hand rather than my ear, so I can kind of look up. That's just my preference in my body. Good. Rise back up. From your Sukhasana, if you're not already there, push your feet a little bit more forward so that you're almost in fire log pose where your feet are under your knees, your shins are almost parallel to one another. And make sure you're even on both sits bones. Inhale, sit up, arch the low back slightly, which means a natural curve of the low back. If your back is rounding, I want you to sit on something. And then forward fold, walk your hands forward. Okay. So now we're to the more hip opening portion of this practice where we've gotten into the side body a lot. We've gotten into the back body a lot. We did quite a bit of hamstrings as well on our back and weight bearing. Now we're going to kind of combine those things, but with our hips. So we're going to walk our hands over to the left. Stack your right hand on top of your left if possible and give it a firm press down. And in my body, I feel a massive lengthening from my right side all the way down to the back of the pelvis. That's exactly what we're looking for here. So my right hip is being opened as well as that TL fascia and as well as just your lat and your glute, QLs, back body muscles, all that good stuff is being lengthened. Good, hands back through center and over to the other side. All the way to the right. Stack your left hand on top of your right. Give it a firm press down. Ooh, this side's a little bit tighter for me. Reaching through your fingertips. Still folding as much as you can. Still thinking of length in that low back as much as you can. Good. Coming back through center. Walk yourself back up. Oh boy. And switch sides. Switching sides. So now opposite leg is in front. For me, now my left leg is in front. We're going to do the exact same thing. I like to press myself up onto my fingertips, a little bit of an arch of the spine. Then exhale, forward fold. Good. We'll take just a couple breaths in center. Just feeling the difference between the two sides. I'm going to start to reach my hands forward, which is going to make it a little bit more intense. And then we're going to start on the other side. Walk your hands over to the right. Try and bring your left hand on top of the right. This side is stiff for me. And so now as we're lengthening our left glute, we're stretching through the lat, the side body, all that good stuff. Remembering you're still folding, remembering that low back is still long. Good. Slowly walk your hands through center. Pause just a moment. Other side. Right hand on top of the left. Reach forward. Try and keep your arms straight. Remembering length in the low back, and you're folding. Oh, this side feels so different. Isn't it crazy how imbalanced our bodies can be? Like just from being right-handed or having your right leg be your dominant leg or whatever, your left leg, it's amazing how different our sides of the bodies can feel, even though we feel like we do everything the same, just compensating just a little bit more each and every day. Those habits, they really, really build up like layers on the body. Good. Come back through center. Take a breath in center. Walk yourself back up. Ooh, good. Bring your legs out in front of you. Let's get ready for our brief rest. Because this was a restorative class, we're not going to take the world's longest Shavasana here. We're going to end in supported bridge pose because I think it'll feel really, really lovely after the movements we did today. Feet underneath the knees, lift your hips and bring your block right underneath your sacrum. So now our low back gets to kind of surrender and release down towards the mat, but our hips are being supported by this prop. A little walk of the shoulders underneath the chest. I love my hands to hip points, but hands can be long, palms up, or to a cactus. I'm bringing your feet anywhere that's comfortable. So after all that awareness on the back of the body lengthening, we're now in a posture that's allowing the back of the body to relax and to shorten as we stretch out the front. I invite you to close your eyes, to seek out your intention that you set for this calming restorative practice we've had together. And let's rest here for a few minutes. Enjoy. If you feel ready to start to stir up some movement again from your supported bridge, lift up onto your toes and just let your knees kind of sway side to side. They can either move apart from each other and then together, or they can rock side to side, joined, whatever feels best. Maybe allowing the head to rock in the opposite direction the knees go. And then press through the big toe mounds. Slowly, slowly lift the hips just enough to remove your block and lower down onto your back. Take a moment here with feet wide, knees touching. Just let the spine release. Let everything puddle back down to your mat. Extend your legs long. Reach your arms up and overhead. Take a big inhale. Stretch long from your fingertips to your toes. Let the back arch. Wiggle the hips. And then roll over onto your favorite side. Let's just take a moment here. Feeling the shifts in the body. Press up through your right hand or left hand. Come up to a sit. Palms together in prayer, head bowed. Thanking yourself for making it to your mat, for partaking in this practice of self-love and self-care. Thank you so much for joining me, and namaste. Thank you for joining me, everyone. I don't know about you, but my back feels, I'm feeling it so much in my back in a good way. Very stretched, feels very nice after sitting a lot as I've been doing lately. I hope you guys felt the difference with this practice, that you learned something, and try doing this practice maybe twice a week for a couple of weeks and see if you feel an improvement in the hamstrings. Because as much as we want to just fold, if we're not folding correctly, if we're not folding in a way that's going to help with the hamstrings and finding some length, then we're just watering a dead flower. So take care of yourself, be well, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.